My name is Bryana Gregory, Pharmacist and Physician Liaison with Physician's Preference Pharmacy, and I am joined by Kim Bennett, who is our pharmacist in charge at Physician's Preference, and we're going to have a conversation today surrounding updates on desiccated thyroid. If this is something that you take, either through our pharmacy or through your retail pharmacy, or you have family members that take it, you need to stay tuned until the end because there have been some very recent developments that have been proposed by the FDA that require discussion. So I wanted to have this conversation with Kim because she brings a long history of expertise in the field of pharmacy, and she has seen some of these legal ups and downs throughout her career, so she brings a lot of experience there. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. I wish it was better under better circumstances, but the whole point of this is to peel it apart to help you guys understand how these medications may be at risk and what you can do about it. So what that means for your health as it relates to desiccated thyroid. So on August 6th, the FDA proposed a ban to do away with all desiccated thyroid products. So that's desiccated thyroid extract. You may see it abbreviated as DTE. And they sent out a letter that, interestingly, didn't come to pharmacies, even though that's where these medications are dispensed. It is addressed to manufacturers, importers, and distributors of those animal-derived thyroid products. And what they were saying is that essentially, and we're going to peel this back a little bit more, but these companies who distribute it or manufacture it have 12 months to stop what they're doing. So what that means for anyone who's on a desiccated thyroid product is you could lose access to your medication. So just that we have a baseline understanding of why this is important to talk about, desiccated thyroid is a type of thyroid medication that is used to treat hypothyroidism, which is foundational from what we treat here at Physician's Preference Pharmacy. We have a lot of patients who are diagnosed with hypothyroidism, which means that the thyroid is under functioning. Sometimes people have had their thyroid removed and require thyroid hormone replacement. So the medications that we're talking about are not just desiccated thyroid that we compound here at Physician's Preference Pharmacy. We are also talking about the commercially available drugs like Armour thyroid and NP thyroid, which they're all made from the same active ingredient, which is why we're discussing them all. But they each have different inactive ingredients that create different nuances between those specific products. So when we talk about someone who might be diagnosed with hypothyroidism, we're talking about someone who presents with symptoms like cold hands, cold feet, brittle nails, brittle hair. Anything else you want to add to that?
Dry skin, constipation.
Yes, think dry, think non-optimal functioning immunity. Everything is slowing down. And then I think the most obvious one is the metabolism. Right? So people that have hypothyroidism technically tend to be larger. So what is the actual issue at hand? Why are we bringing this FDA proposed ban up right now? So on August 6th, there was a letter that was sent out by the FDA, which was the initial documentation or information addressing desiccated thyroid products as something called unapproved thyroid medications. So Kim, I'd like you to unpack what unapproved means in this aspect and why is that an issue? Why did they even put this proposed ban out?
So unapproved, so they are FDA regulated, but not FDA approved, these desiccated thyroid products, because they've been used for 100 years or more. And being used for 100 years or more, they have existed longer than the FDA has. So with the existence of the FDA, there was the new drug application process. This drug's been around so long, it did not have to undergo the new drug application process. It was grandfathered in as a drug because it was already on the market and people were using it and it had been in existence for so long. So that's why they're calling it unapproved. Again, it's been in existence for over 100 years, been used by millions of people, and it is FDA regulated. So there's going to be some confusion when they start throwing out that unapproved word that, oh my gosh, the FDA has no control over this drug. There must be something wrong with it, which there is not.
Right. So part of this guidance, too, was in an effort to address safety. which can cause some concerns for people. And when we see this kind of murky guidance come out, honestly, it takes multiple pharmacists to come together to understand what they're writing. It's almost like trying to peel apart a legal document. So interestingly, that Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act that was put into place in the 1900s is the FDA's official drug approval process that they now have in place. And so Armour thyroid or these desiccated thyroid products are not the only ones that are, if they want to call it unapproved, it's not it. We talked about its other ones like colchicine and morphine and ones that we're very familiar with that are used all the time. So nitroglycerin. So there's also a question mark of, well, what's going to happen to those drugs, right? So this could potentially just be the beginning of a downward spiral, and that's what we are trying to intervene in right now, because we do have millions of people nationwide who are dependent on these medications, and we consider them to be medically necessary. About a week and a half after the FDA's initial letter that came out, they then sent out a response, probably because people like ourselves, our patients, were attempting to get the ear of the FDA on the hook by signing petitions and let them know, hey, this is not okay. These are essential medications. I've been reliant on this since I was in my 20s or my 30s, for the last several decades. We're hearing all kinds of stories of the reliance on this medication. So, of course, we want to be sure that you can retain access to this. Part of this initial letter, too, was saying you have, speaking to the prescribers, you have 12 months to get your patients switched over from desiccated thyroid products, if that's what they're currently taking, switched over to synthetic products. So when we're talking about a desiccated thyroid, that's a natural product versus a synthetic product, which that's your synthroid, so synthetic thyroid or levothyroxine or liothyronine or some of these that are made strictly in a laboratory and not taken from an animal. So desiccated thyroid is generally a pig's thyroid. It historically has come from other animals, but we use porcine, which is pig thyroid, that is extracted. Luckily, we're not responsible for this process, but it's extracted. It is dried or desiccated, ground up, created into a powder, and then that powder is distributed to compounding pharmacies, to the manufacturers of Armour thyroid and NP thyroid, et cetera, and then we make it into our respective products. So they're giving prescribers 12 months to comply to get everyone switched over. What we see clinically and historically is that most people do not respond or respond as well to the synthetic products as they do to the natural products, and those products where we can adjust the dose and customize it for that particular person. They're not stuck to the commercially available doses. So when they came out with this second letter, can you tell us a little bit about the response, what they said, and really if it changed anything that's going on?
So I guess it was close to a week ago, maybe last Wednesday, and I do believe it was because of the social media backlash. The FDA commissioner, Dr. Marty Makary, commented on his X account, FDA is committed to pursuing the first ever approval of desiccated thyroid extract, pending results of the ongoing clinical trials. In the meantime, we will ensure access for all Americans. And I do believe this is a very cryptic message. It is not definitive, or it does not provide any clarification at all as to what the plan is. What they're talking about is calling desiccated thyroid extract a biologic. And I don't want to really get into the weeds on what this means, except to say that the company that makes Armour thyroid is a biologic company. And you probably see all of the commercials on TV every single night. 90% of those commercials are biologic drugs, which means so much research has gone into those, so much development has gone into those. These are drugs that they say mimic natural functions in the body. They're charging people $7,500 per dose, sometimes $10,000 per dose. And if that happens with something like Armour thyroid or desiccated thyroid, where it receives a biologic classification, the price of Armour thyroid could skyrocket to thousands of dollars a month, which also is a patient access issue. So there would not be a ban on thyroid. However, you're limiting the number of patients that can afford desiccated thyroid if you go down that rabbit hole. And I do believe in my heart of hearts, that's where this will be going.
It seems like a bit of a monopolization as well.
It sure
They're
does.
trying to corner the market, as you have said, which is concerning. Also, part of that 12-month timeline is that if you know anything about drug development and safety and efficacy studies, preclinical studies, animal studies, human studies, and longevity studies, those don't happen anywhere near a 12-month period. It is usually more than a decade, which is why so many of these pharmaceutical drugs are so expensive when they first hit the market, because they have to recoup those costs for the time and the development and the money that goes into preparing those studies. So to think that anyone could apply for a license, put up a manufacturing plant, start making these, do the studies is completely unrealistic. We don't disagree, especially as pharmacists, that safety and efficacy should be skirted. It is absolutely foundational for being sure that our patients are successful and healthy and safe in what they take. We support that, but safety and efficacy studies take time. Something else that is comical in this communication from the FDA is there's two things, really. One, they're saying that the use of desiccated thyroid products is concerning because if the dose is too high, it could be unsafe.
Wouldn't that be any thyroid product or any medication?
Any drug? I mean, what about Ozempic, right? I mean, why aren't we talking about that? It's the exact same concept. It's a dosing thing. It's not ever against any drug. It's the higher you start going on a dose of any particular medication, you're going to start eliciting side effects. The question is just, what are those going to be? And they say you should talk to your doctor. Of course, you should talk to your doctor. That's how you get the prescription, is from the doctor. Something else I wanted to point out, because at Physician's Preference Pharmacy, something that really sets us apart is our internal and third-party testing validation for potency of our products. So one of the listed concerns by the FDA and reasons behind banning this is they identify that there could be some inconsistent potencies from batch to batch of the unapproved desiccated thyroid products. So because desiccated thyroid is something that we compound so readily at Physician's Preference, Kim, can you explain to us how we verify consistency from batch to batch?
So we do internal testing. So we do weight testing on all of our capsules that we compound. On every single batch that we compound, we do weight testing. And weight testing basically verifies the accuracy of the weight of the capsule. And with the weight of the capsule, anything outside of a plus or minus 3% variability is destroyed. So we don't keep anything that is out of that plus or minus 3% range. Then what we do is we do take random samples of all of our batches of hormones, everything that we make, and we send those to an outside lab to validate our techniques and our processes, because we believe that quality and safety are of utmost importance. You have to have consistency from batch to batch. Otherwise, patients are going to feel like this over time, and you don't want patients to feel like this on anything that they're on, thyroid or otherwise. So it's super important to be able to validate what you do with testing, accuracy testing, and potency testing.
Very good. Yeah, so just continual education and also pulling together when we face things like this. You've seen this in the past with estrogen. Mm-hmm. And one of our concerns going forward is everything that we've talked about: price, patient access. There's definitely a conflict of interest present here. But also, when we're talking about preserving access to medications, the question for both of us is, okay, but what's going to be next? Is it going to be hormones? Is it going to be sex hormones? What is going to be next? So we don't want this ball to even start rolling which is why we felt necessary to have this conversation. Also, what does it mean for you? So if you're currently on desiccated thyroid, you can still get desiccated thyroid from us. Our prescribers are still prescribing that. You still have access to it, but it requires a call to action right now to continue to bend the ear of the FDA and let them know we need to maintain access to this. So there are at least 2 petitions that we will share with you, links for that, for you to go to sign that petition. You can share as much personal information as you wish of your personal story, how you've benefited. Maybe you have a spouse or a child or a family member who has benefited. Please share that. People that sit on the board for the FDA probably don't know that information. At least we have to give them that benefit of the doubt. And all we can do is share with them the good news of healing so that we can preserve access. So please be sure that you go there, you sign those, you do your part. It's not just RFK, it's not just the Make America Healthy Again movement, which was referenced in that second article. That's part of it, but we have a due diligence as healthcare professionals and as patients to band together. So we're probably going to be seeing a grassroots initiative come, I think you said next week?
Probably in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for that, please. And be sure, if you learned anything, please share this video with other people that need to hear it. You're more than welcome to call us at Physicians Preference Pharmacy at 281-828-9088. But also, please have this conversation with your prescriber. And if they have any questions, they can call us as well.